and getting our ads in order. What is interesting is that there are very few 2012 guides available, and this probably won't come out till October. But I've gotten phone calls from, in the last week, 3 welcome centers and 3 hotels and Yukon wanting thousands of guides, so we're depleting very quickly. The phone has been extra busy for the last month with individuals and organizations needing guides to take places or to do reunions. So things are picking up. In that vein, also, you will be happy to know that the state did fund regional tourism, however, they've not given out the funds yet. So each tourism district is attempting to set up all their advertising and marketing strategies with a handshake, just to make sure that we can get stuff going, so that at least for our district, the center of the state, will be represented in the fall. It's been difficult, and they're saying that it's possible that funding will come out in October. So we cross our fingers that that will happen. After October, all 3 tourism districts will close because we're not allowed to carry over enough money to stay open. So it's a very interesting system. So I'll keep you posted on that. Other than that, we are planning our Haunted Miniature Golf for the middle of October. And our film commission is firming up a lecture series to begin the end of September, and it'll probably be housed in Simsbury. Other than that, that's my quick report.
Will you be printing as many brochures this year as you did? Last year you did like 85,000?
No. We did 50,000 because there was no welcome center distribution. There still is no state-run welcome center distribution, but I do have several board members, and I get in my car and we get it accomplished. So we're going up.
Is the brochure available as a PDF online that people could download?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. We have a new web person, and we are slowly going over the website, so we'll see if we can do that. But it is amazing how many people want it in their hands still. So they go. If they didn't go, then, we certainly would think a lot about it, but so far so good.
Do you have a mobile app attached to your website or a Facebook page?
No, because I currently don't have anybody to do it.
Okay.
And being the one person who does things, I don't have the time. If I could find somebody to do Facebook, we'd be out. So that is one of the goals for the coming year, to try to get that going. Because at least we need to be in the 20th century, I think, because everyone else is in the 21st, I think.
Yes.
It's time for us to pop up into the 20s. I'll be honest, yeah.
Well, if the state ever gives you a lot of flack about tourism, tell them to go to Vermont and go to their center as you go up 91.
Yeah.
Go visit that and just say, if you want to promote your state and your businesses and everything else, that's a pretty good way to do it.
Vermont has a mobile app where you can download you can just put it on your iPhone and you can travel the state as we do with the app and not have to print anything, and you can make reservations, you can, do all sorts of things from the app, which is great.
What we were discussing in the last regional tourism marketing meeting with some of the tourism advisory people from the state is that it's very interesting. People will sit on their computers before they go on vacation, and they'll download and they'll look, and then they'll make their phone calls, and then when they're coming, I get the phone call, and the regional tourism office in Hartford gets the phone call. Send me, or I need something to take with me. So it's a very interesting mix.
We were just recently in Bar Harbor, and they have a great app as well for Acadia National Park, and then all the restaurants are linked to it and all the other activities in the area, and you didn't have to ever pick up a brochure in the hotel lobby. It was great.
Does anybody know how expensive it is to develop something like that?
Apps are easy.
Yeah, apps can be almost free.
They can be free. Like if you host a website through GoDaddy, you can get a mobile app immediately.
No, there's a lot of local companies that will develop apps, and you can offset them by other costs, and we've actually been exploring that, so I can share the information with you, because there's a couple of places that develop
Actually,
apps strictly.
if you could develop, what might be a great idea is, because the people who develop these apps tend to be 16, 17, 18 years old, creating some sort of job internship with your organization where you can get a high school student or students to work on that as a project and develop the app for you. And there are students I know who also will do Facebook maintenance for you as a business, because that's what they're into, and that's what they're going to be majoring in.
And the app obviously has to be maintained.
And they do.
They do maintain it.
They do it.
They're on social media
Yes.
24
Every minute
hours a day.
they're on it.
Yeah, that's on our agenda. Interestingly enough, at the PETA group,
I don't know if any of you are familiar with that name. They're a pretty big PR and everything firm in Rocky Hill, I think their office is. And they do, the Regional Tourism District gives a chunk of money to them to do all that, to do the newsletters and the social media and those things. And our last follow-up meeting, while we were trying to ask them to do some things for the fall for us with an IOU for payment whenever the state decided to pay, printed out a very interesting set of statistics. When you look at the website, the request for print materials, the social media, and the mobile, 75% still want something in their hand. 25% are very much into social, and then there's 24%, and then there's just a little bit that are really popping over. So it's interesting. Sometimes they'll mobile from their hotel room. But sometimes things are slower in some areas than others,
Yep.
but we certainly have that on the list. And an internship has always been on the list. You know, more so college than high school. High school, we've never thought about it, and that's something that I'm glad you brought up. I'd love to explore that.
Yeah, I know there's some students who just recently graduated that work for some local companies developing their social campaigns, and it's a great resume item for them for college, because that's what they're going into, and so they're very interested in.
Well, you can also sign up for some of the colleges. We got a Roger Williams intern who lived in Simsbury, David Ball, whose family's been here forever, you know, and still is, and we're able to sign up, and they'll, you know, occasionally send us an intern.
well, we have put out a summer internship and a school year internship for community colleges in Central and places that are an easy driving distance to our office. And
We've had some very interesting results in the past. We're trying it again now. But one of the cute anecdotal stories I'll tell you before I let you go, so to speak. I had one young lady who really wanted to do an internship. She was very interested in tourism and small nonprofits and wanted to get into things. And she sat down, and we had a wonderful conversation, and I gave her the list again of the requirements for the position, and it was either 1, 2, or 3 credits, whatever, you know, she was willing to do time-wise. And she said, "Do I have to be here alone?" I said, "Part of the time, yes, indeed you do. Because part of the reason why you're here is to allow me to go out and talk to businesses and talk to groups and those kinds of things, but I don't want to be alone." And I said, "You're on Route 44. You have 2 businesses below you that would give you security, and you're only working from 9:30 or 10 to 3. And she said, "I can't do it." Interesting. But anyway, we don't give up. We may be slow moving forward in some things, but we don't give up. So thank you for your suggestion. I like that. And we'll bring it up. Anything else?
Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of the summer.
Thank you. Simsbury Main Street Partnerships.
Okay, good morning. For the record, Sarah Nielsen, I'm the Executive Director of the Simsbury Main Street Partnership. Just a few brief things. We came off the heels of what I think was a great meeting yesterday. As I've talked about in some of the previous meetings, but to kind of catch the rest of the commission up to speed, Main Street this year, our big focus has been on the economic competitiveness of Simsbury. And that focuses on everything from economic development, quality of life issues, everything is really intertwined. And a program that we have been kind of shaping, you know, we started like 6, 7 years ago with the branding for the town of Simsbury, and the town has been a really great partner in really continuing to use all of those branding materials, the Simsbury, Connecticut logo, all of the materials on the website, the annual report, everything. And so, you know, we started with the branding. We have the economic development folder that is used by hoteliers, it's used by realtors, it's used by the town, it's used by Main Street. That's how it was designed to be used by people. and, you know, and have gone through the downtown map, the heritage and the adventure pieces to talk about all of the different things you can do in Simsbury. So this year, we've decided that we were really going to focus on some other ancillary marketing materials. And what we thought was we'd start with the schools. And we had some discussion about how, you know, the realtors can't talk about the school system. So we thought this is really a great area for us to start with. And so I asked Deputy Selectman Lisa Hebner, she's the Board of Ed liaison, to sit in a meeting to try to engage the schools. We sat down with Matt Curtis and Martha Hogan, and they were incredibly supportive and excited because it's something different. It's something to get their objectives out that's not in a way that they normally do, which is the annual report, which is wonderful, but it's a little bit long and a little bit dry. And so yesterday, I had my consultant, because he took all this information that the Board of Ed and Matt Curtis had given us, and he said, there's so much here, and I don't know where to go with this. And so I said, well, let's meet with the realtors, because at the end of the day, we want to fashion this piece for economic development. We want to fashion this piece so that the realtors have a tool to use as they're selling Simsbury, something that separates Simsbury from the other communities. It's great for the school system. It's great for the residents, you know, as they're trying to sell homes or trying, you know, we found out that there's a lot of in-town movement right now, so it's not that we're losing residents, but, you know, they're trying to sell their home and move to another section in town perhaps, and it's just great to help keep property values up. It's good business. And so we said, from an economic development perspective, this really makes sense to take this first piece. There will be others. But I want to thank Chris Barnett and Liz Banco from Prudential. We had Charlie Kaler from RE/MAX. We had Katie French from Coldwell Banker. And we had Susan Arsenault from Ravis. So we had the representatives from all of the 4 companies in Simsbury. And it was the first discussion. They've agreed to come on board as my committee. We're going to start with this first school piece, which will focus mostly on the schools, but at the same time, we're redoing all of our other materials. You know, they use them all the time. You know, Jan Losey at the Simsbury Inn, Jan's a board member of mine. She uses our materials. Everybody does. So they need to be updated. They need to be refreshed, and we're constantly changing out in and out the information. So we're going to be going through drafts and iterations of this school piece. The next step is that we're going to hold a realtor get-together. We're thinking probably now either late September or early October, where we'd reach out to the rest of the realtors to educate them. And I think Chris was great. You know, there's a lot of realtors that do business in Simsbury. They sell homes in Simsbury, but they don't know all of the things that differentiate Simsbury from other communities. The Simsbury Farms is a huge selling piece. You know, all of these things, they don't know them. And so it's our job, I think, as Main Street and as a town, to give them the tools that are necessary to make them successful, because it makes the town successful. And so we're going to be doing really a realtor ambassador program. They're the first faces that a lot of people see when they're considering moving into Simsbury and moving into Simsbury. And I don't know if you want to, I was really excited by the information we got out of that meeting and some of the next steps that are going to be happening.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for us to market our school system and everything that the town has to offer. You know, with my other hat as a real estate agent, we are not allowed to talk about specifics. We can guide people to websites, and they have to figure out the information on their own, because it's considered steering if we decide to comment on a lot of those things that are offered. We find that there's people looking here who look at Glastonbury, West Hartford, Simsbury, Avon, Farmington, and we need to figure out a way to differentiate ourselves from those communities and show value for what they're paying for their property taxes, and help them understand really what they're getting in terms of a quality of life and an education here in town versus those other schools. So it's really, we need to I think, as a community, become more aggressive at marketing our entire town.
So if you can't talk about schools and you're meeting with the realtors and the
They
school
can-
people, tell me.
We can talk
The realtors can talk about very specific things. So, for example, somebody says, where would my kid be going to elementary school? They can talk about very specific things, but then they have to say, if they have other questions, they have to guide them to a website or a resource. Now, what we're creating, they can hand them, because they can't mention, but if we have literature, we have this marketing piece, they can say, here's something from Simsbury that might answer their question.
And what they find on websites, okay, are typically test scores, graduation rates, very objective criteria. You really don't get into who offers Project Lead the Way for engineering program, who has a varsity hockey program, there's a lot of other
There are things that set
things that are
Simsbury
important.
apart.
So that will be in this, would that be in this brochure?
Yes, that's the whole point is we wanted to go to the realtors first and say, we got the information from the schools, but the realtors are doing this day to day. They know why people, what are the hot buttons? Why do people choose Simsbury? Why are people not choosing Simsbury? What materials can we give them that they can't mention that are important, that are drivers? The fact that Simsbury has, we kind of talked about that. I don't know if this was your idea. I know somebody mentioned, the fact that in Simsbury, a student can be a star no matter what. You can be an athletic star, you can be a academic star, you can, that there's so many opportunities for your child to shine that really aren't available in a lot of the neighboring schools. So, this piece is designed to meet that gap, meet that knowledge gap, because all the stuff they're doing online, they come in very well prepared, a lot of these families, when school systems are important, but it's hard to find what we're looking, the top things. They have to do so much research. It's almost like taking another college course. We want to make it readily available to them to really help promote Simsbury, promote the market. And then and Hiram, thank you so much for coming as well. I also invited Peter Fairweather because I said, he's our marketing consultant. He's working with the town of Simsbury. While he won't be leading this discussion, it's our consultant. The information he'll glean out of it, I think, would be really important. And he did walk away very informed as well, because as we're looking at, for example, Hiram will be talking about the Hartford, and we're looking at other development opportunities, one of the key factors for a lot of these companies and corporations is what kind of quality of life, what kind of school system can I offer my employees to make it competitive? So all of this stuff for us, Main Street considers the building blocks to everything else. And
So all of this will basically distill down into a brochure or something that can be
marketing
handed out?
pieces, absolutely, and online, and available a variety of different ways, available through a variety of different mediums. But again, I'm excited. It's the first step. We're reaching out to the realtors. When people have a relationship with a realtor, it's an important relationship. You're entrusting. There's a lot of trust there. You're entrusting somebody with a large financial purchase and one of the biggest decisions people can make. And so, we really want to make sure that they are, as ambassadors, that they have all the information and all the tools and all the knowledge necessary to promote Simsbury to the best of their ability.
And this, I think, is key to commercial properties
Absolutely.
in town, as commercial agents are looking at, in discussions with companies about leasing or purchasing properties here in town. Why should a company move here? And what resources, there's, if you're a small engineering firm and you're looking to move to a couple of different towns, Simsbury has an engineering program at the high school that they can, pull talent from. So it's, I think it's a win-win for, the town, for marketing from an economic standpoint, certainly educating, the residential piece of it as well, but
This really is economic development. This is an important block for what I think this commission wants to do and what Main Street's been gearing up and has been doing the last X number of years. But we're going to be putting pieces together now to enable them, and we have the right team.
Is this a standalone piece on the schools, or is it something that's going to be part of?
It's going to be an ancillary. I think it'll. The way the designer, I believe, is going to focus is it'll blend very nicely with all of the other marketing pieces, because it's Jeff Dornenberg, Callenbeck Advertising. He is fantastic. We work with him all the time. He's actually a Simsbury resident, but Main Street started our relationship with him when we did a nationally competitive grant process, and he ended up being the very best out of like 15 companies all across the country. And so because he's already done those pieces for us, I think that you want it to be a standalone, should it, but you also want it to be able to relate really well to the materials that we currently have. And this will be the first of several other pieces that will be, again, using the realtors. It's great for Main Street or the town or other people to say these are the priorities, but you want to go to the people that they're the ones selling the homes. They see this every day. We have the top realtors of each company. And it was great energy, it was exciting.
Right, so I think you answered my question, so it's both something that you could.
You could just
that you
hand
could
out-
hand out, but it's also part of a consistent
Yes,
package
always.
where here's something on Simsbury and this isn't.
Absolutely.
So-
And that's, I mean, that's
gotcha,
what we've done,
gotcha,
everything.
okay.
And in fact,
So it
when
serves
Hop
both
Meadow Walk
purposes.
did the cell phone tour, when the tourism committee redid their cell phone brochure, we incorporated, again, we went with the branding, so they were kind enough to be able to, we redesigned that so that the new updated look, everything fits in with the branding campaign that Main Street's started with the town.
Okay.
Will this also be available online?
Absolutely.
Can you remind me again, why is it that, what is it a violation of that you can't sell the town?
The
It's a violation
Not
of
the law, it's a violation
federal fair housing.
Federal fair housing.
Which is the best school.
When someone asks you, well, how good are the Simsbury schools? Our comment needs to be, then the party line is, you can go to website blah, blah, blah to find that information. Because what's a good school to me might be different than what a good school is to you.
But you're not allowed to say your opinion?
I'm not allowed to say my opinion.
Can't qualify it with your opinion?
No.
No, absolutely not.
No.
It started from, correct me if I'm wrong, from urban areas, from people steering people away from urban areas because of schools. So the state has websites where you can, and there are other websites available where you can compare school districts, so you can look side by side at test scores and graduation rates, and they're usually a year behind because it just takes that long to update all the statistics in there. But
it's bare bones.
that's where we have to guide our clients to get test score information. We then send them to the Simsbury Public Schools website or the whatever town they're looking at, website to get more additional information that's specific to the school district.
So it'd be a violation of, you could get arrested? Violation of
I could lose my
what? What happens?
No, I can lose my license.
Okay, you could
I mean,
A
it's very
real
serious.
estate
You
agent
lose
can
your
lose their
real
license for violating a federal fair housing.
Yeah. No, one other comment I want to make in terms of realtors. A lot of realtors don't have kids in the school system anymore and don't even know about these programs. I was just enlightened by all the stuff that's,
Made Liz want to
Taking
go out and
place.
have another kid.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, sir. And there are lots of realtors who sell Simsbury who don't live here.
Yes.
Who are in Glastonbury, Newtown, Cheshire. I mean, we get a lot of those. And they certainly have no clue. I mean, we know that. And so we really, those folks too, you need to, it's not even selling town, it's just educating them. Where Simsbury Farms is, where, and what kind of, how many schools we have and that kind of, basics.
But it's only as it relates to schools. So you
Well,
can say,
this
oh,
is
I think
school,
Simsbury's
yeah.
better because we've got better parks.
We can talk, we
Yes, they
absolutely
can
can
talk
discuss
about-
quality
It's only
of
the
life
schools that
and
are touted?
amenities.
Yes, but it's the schools are the big issue
Yeah.
because of Right. steering.
Trying to understand, sorry to
But
be.
again, yeah.
But really, the violation becomes, we lose our license if we try to steer
When will
somebody.
this roll out?
Again, right now, I'll have a better timeline as soon as we have a couple iterations. We're in draft form, so what our next steps are, the consultant is going to provide something in draft form that this group can comment on, and then I'll know better. But again, we're looking at probably more realistically, late September, I think probably more realistically in early October for this Realtor Ambassador program. We picked, you pick a Tuesday where they do their touring and we provide them with food and drink and you roll out the new marketing materials. But, I'm excited because we had the right people sitting at the table. It's all four major companies and they're coming together to work with Main Street and to work with the town to partner to do something like this. And as everybody's mentioned, it has an economic impact on the commercial side, the residential side, everything. So, I think it's critical.
Is there a cost associated with it?
If we're looking at that right now, but Main Street will budget for that.
First of all, I want to thank Sarah for this initiative. It is a wonderful initiative. And I also want to thank Hiram Peck for the marketing study that we've done, because what we're seeing from some of the initial discussions is that the things that make Simsbury attractive to businesses that we have opportunities for are recreation, the arts, and technology. Well, coincidentally, those are the strengths of our schools. And if we can merge these two and say, here's an opportunity for a business, and guess what, our schools are already leaders in this area, then we have an opportunity to approach people. The other thing we're seeing trending throughout the nation is that where it used to be crucial to be near a highway for all businesses, that's changing a little bit. You still need to be obviously for manufacturing, but a lot with telecommuting is not, the world is changing. And so what people are looking for, or companies are looking for when they come to an area, is they want to live in an area that is livable, where there are recreational activities, where the schools are good. And so
Quality of life for their employees is one of the top
drivers
for where businesses will choose to relocate or expand.
And sometimes our schools and our business community don't always talk. We don't always know what our left hand or right hand. So this is an opportunity to get the two talking, and it turns out we're very compatible. We both have, the schools and the town and the businesses all have the same interest, and we're all moving in the same direction, and we can market it together.
And I think it's just a good reminder that the schools are a crucial investment. I mean, you look at how do the schools fund economic development, and as we talked about, the way people are doing economic development is really changed. It is multifaceted. It's not just new construction anymore. In fact, new construction accounts for very little economic development. It is turned into the small businesses. They're the biggest economic driver. It is turned into things like recreation and the arts and the entertainment and the schools and all of these quality of life issues where Simsbury is really poised to take advantage of all of this. So we just need the right materials and the right way to market it. So I'm thrilled by the group. I really was.
How would realtors who are not based in Simsbury access that information?
Well, we're going to do this several ways. I think, again, the October, I'll say October, just to make sure, the October get-together is meant to attract as many of the realtors, again, free food and drink and some prizes, but it gets them there, honestly.
We're so easy, aren't you?
After their Tuesday tours. But, that's where we open this up to the realtors that, from the area. And I think then what we can do is while you're doing lunch and there, you do one of those things where we can do not just the school system there, but we would do either video or we'll do a slideshow of all of the things that separate Simsbury. The fact that we have the Simsbury Farms, the golf club and all the amenities there, the fact that we have the ice skating center, and which kind of leads me to, I hope that the commission knows that, one of the things we talked about is people come to Simsbury, they choose to relocate to Simsbury for many different reasons. The skating center, which I don't want to say it's dropped off, but it was very, very popular and there was so much excitement and then it's died down a little bit. It is really having a resurgence right now. And I should mention that next year for 2014 and 2015, Simsbury is hosting the USA Hockey Junior National Championships. This is a big deal. This means that I think that what the Convention and Sports Bureau estimated is there's about a $2 million bonus, $2 million worth of amenities that Greater Hartford will enjoy based on this. It's a big deal. They're going to have other competitions, but this is it's a showcase for players bound for the NCAA Division I. This is a huge deal. So it has been awarded to Simsbury for the next 2 years. I should mention that my president, Rich Correa, has met with Bob Crawford, who's one of the owners of the skating center, and we're going to be in discussions talking about how we can combine this, because we did this with, Main Street stepped in, thanks to Lou George. We'd stepped in and done this with the big wintertime hockey tournament, which was, they had commitments at Bradley. All of their hotels, all their amenities were at Bradley, and so when you have your rooms somewhere outside of Simsbury, that's where they were doing the majority of their business. They were dining outside of Simsbury, they were shopping outside of Simsbury, they weren't coming in, they were getting bussed into town, they were getting bussed back out, and Main Street stepped in, again, with the help of one of my board members, Jan Losi, and we corrected that. And so we really want to look at the ways that we can explore and really promote things like this, because it is a big boon for what's going to happen in Simsbury and our economy. I should also mention just very quickly that there's been a couple new developments. 12 Chip Houlihan's old building, Chip Houlihan's old building near the Wagner property, just closed a couple days ago. It has been sold to the owners of M&M Auto. That just closed a couple days ago. I have been working with the developers of the old Webster Bank building. I helped set up the exclusive with the Valley Press. I should let you guys know that They haven't made any decisions right now as to where they're going, and some of our talks have been confidential, but, you know, the owners of that building, one of their biggest priorities is to keep the main building's historic quality, return it back to the community, and have something that I think would be appealing to the town, especially with the new zoning regulations, so I think that's really important to note. My shameless plug, if you haven't gotten your Taste of Simsbury tickets, this event sells out every year. I think it's a fun event. We do have restaurants other than Simsbury restaurants in here. We do this because we got a complaint after some things had dropped off. Listen, there's a ton of family-friendly stuff to do. You know, a lot of the family-friendly restaurants get to go to Talcott Mountain and do all this stuff, and we need something to help the fine dining guys. We need something that will help promote our niche, which is a little bit smaller, and so we came up with the Taste in Simsbury. And what it does is, although we have restaurants that are also outside of Simsbury, it reminds everybody as they're coming in. We get people, I track from PayPal and everything, we get people from all over the state, and we've actually gotten out-of-state people that will drive in for this event, that it reminds them that Simsbury is a destination for dining, recreation, entertainment, and that we encourage them to come back. And this year's new presenting sponsor is Simsbury Bank, so they will be selling the tickets. It's a fantastic event. It's a lot of fun. And then on a sad note, if you haven't already heard, one of our sitting board members, Jewel Gutman, who was just a gem in the community. She was just an amazing woman, passed away last Monday. We've been working with the family, because I know that there's been talk about putting out an obituary. That, I think, should come out very shortly. If it's not out today, it should come out fairly shortly. And they're not looking at memorial services or some sort of something until probably September. But she's a wonderful person. She was, you know, in addition to being a board member of Main Street, she was past president of the chamber. She was on the Board of Ed. She was a Republican town committee. She was Bridge of Flowers, the Garden Club, you name it. So she was an amazing woman.
Question, will the fly-in and the craft fair take place this year?
Absolutely. And they were on the postcard that Mary and Main Street sent out. Absolutely. And those are again, two huge, especially the fly-in. The fly-in has really taken on a regional, it's amazing what they do every year.
There's 2 free booths at both the town and the fly-in. So if there's any brochures or anything in addition that you want to include that I know Main Street, I think Simsbury Tourism Committee and the Bike Friendly Committee is manning those booths.
Any other questions?
I'm curious, under this HUD regulation on don't talk, don't tell, and all that stuff with customers, has anyone ever been brought up to the mat and lost their license because of it?
I'm not testing it.
I don't know. That I don't know.
I don't know.
Sounds like the Wizard of Oz, you know, where the guy says, woo, and everyone gets real scared about it.
No, fair housing laws are...
It's regulations, and just like attorneys and other professions abide by certain guidelines, realtors are held by those same guidelines. So I think even if somebody hadn't been brought up, it's a matter of ethics, and it's a matter of once you accept the license, that you have to abide by a certain code of conduct.
It's okay to put it in writing, but not okay to
It's okay
tell
for
them.
somebody else to put things in writing that are factual, but it's not okay to remark on things that may be colored by your own personal opinion. Yes.
Yep.
Don't look at me, Dave, I didn't write the laws.
Mortgage officers have to abide by the same fair housing guidelines as well.
Again, it's similar to any profession where there's guidelines and...
Sounds like Wall Street.
There are no guidelines.
That's right. That's it.
All right, thank you.
The good people get punished.
Okay. Next on the agenda is status of the consultants' reports, the marketing study by Fairweather Consulting, and an update on the WETOG study.
Sure. Good morning. The Peter Fairweather actually was at Sarah's meeting yesterday. Peter has been interviewing a number of the local businesses, talking to them about what their likes and dislikes are about the community, and trying to figure out what he calls the truth of the place. I think that the draft report that Peter has up on his website, that's simsburystrategy.com, is pretty up to date, but the information will be updated in the very near future so that he can finish the phase one of this particular report. Nancy before was talking about the tourism issues and activities and opportunities, and I don't know if you've talked to Peter Fairweather yet, but if you haven't, please, I'll email you today his contact information. You should definitely talk to him before he finishes his report. The next meeting that we will have with Peter will be with the committee, and everybody's invited to sit in if they like, on August 22nd, probably be right here in this room. And Peter will be bringing us up to date and kind of finalizing phase one of that report. So we're a couple weeks behind, but he's had some difficulty contacting some of the business owners. For example, he contacted all the business owners up in the Herman Drive area, and very few of them got back to him. So I had to give him specific phone numbers and names of people to call. And I think that some people are reluctant to get back to him because perhaps they thought he was trying to sell them something, or they didn't really know what he was trying to do. But he's trying very hard to get in touch with specific people at these businesses to find out what their needs are with regard to going forward. Yesterday there was some talk about doing some videos and things, and that was something that was actually part of the phase two marketing study that we had talked about. So how that's going to work out, we don't have any funding for the phase two of the marketing study right now, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to proceed. We're going to continue to look for grants in the future, whether they're STEEP grants. STEEP grants a couple of years ago funded several of these studies around the state. STEEP grants this year did not fund any of them, so that was disappointing, but we'll continue to look at what other grants. DECD has indicated, at least verbally, that they're interested in helping the town out with a variety of things, and I guess we're going to talk to them in the near future to find out whether they're serious about that in terms of providing some money to finish up phase two of the study.
Phase two would cost how much?
We had it for about $75,000, Mark. So first phase was 25. I wanted to do the whole thing for 100 or under. And so the second phase is where we really get serious about implementation and creating videos and doing specific marketing pieces that would coordinate with the types of things that Sarah's talking about as well. So that was all part of phase two, and so that's what we're looking for funding for right now.
Okay.
Absolutely. So August 22nd, if you can make that meeting, fine. We'd love to have as many people from EDC sit on that and provide input into that process as possible. If you haven't talked to Peter yet, you probably should. Especially if you have specific ideas, Chris or some of the other realtors have ideas. And yesterday, I know the meeting was focused primarily on residential stuff, and he's primarily looking at commercial industries. But I think that they obviously go hand in hand. There's no question about that. So if you haven't had a chance to talk to him, probably somebody from that group should give him a call and talk to him, or I can tell him to call you. If you just give me an email, tell me your name and your contact info, and I'm happy to do that as well. So that's pretty much it where we are with the marketing study now. The second thing is the Weetag Village District Study. We're working really hard with Carl Lynch and Sandell, our consulting firm, on that. The meeting actually to almost finish that up will be tonight in the library at 6 p.m. I've sent out maintained really good email lists for people that have come to those sessions in the past, and tonight at 6 p.m. we'll be talking primarily about the status of the study. There are three parts to it. There are design regulations, there are design guidelines, and there's actually a zoning regulation and map that goes with that. So all the property owners have been invited to these meeting after meeting, so we want to make sure that everybody's on board with what's going on in that area, so we're not trying to force anybody to do anything with their property. Very similar in a lot of ways to the town center study in terms of creating a real place there. A lot of discussion about the Route 10 study and the study that we did in that area and how that fits into this whole area. What would happen to, for example, say the Mitchell Auto Group property in that area? How could that be redeveloped in the future? So there's some very interesting things that are in that study. The designers and the engineers and the planner involved in this study have done a really good job so far. And I can tell you honestly that we have probably gotten about 3 times the value of the money that we put into that study. That was a $15,000 study. They're back here for their, I think, 4th time now. There'll probably be one more final meeting in front of the land use commissions. But the amount of material that they've generated in terms of the graphics and the different alternatives that people could look at and comment on has been phenomenal. So please take a look at that. All that stuff, again, is on the link on our website, Weetag Village District Study. And tonight we'll be handing out information of up to date as to where they are right now. I expect to get that today. They're still working on it yesterday, and I expect to have that for the meeting tonight. So I'll make copies and hand that out tonight. So if you can come, please do for that. So that's where that one's at.
So that, once we get that study, then it's up to the town then to actually work on the zoning and pass that.
They're going to give us a draft regulation.
Right.
We'll probably tweak it, whether we accept it 100% or whether we monitor a little bit. It'll depend upon what feedback we get at a public hearing. My sense is because we're doing the Hartford study in September, it's probably going to be at least October before the zoning commission gets to this particular study. But the consultant will then turn that information over to us. We'll take that to the zoning commission, obviously with referrals to this commission, to planning, to design review board, and make sure that that gets well vetted before it goes to public hearing, probably in October, I think sometime. And then create the village district for Weetag. So the plan essentially, is very similar to the center, will be in place. If people say, yeah, I'd like to do that, I want to buy that piece of property and do that, very easy to do. It makes the process very streamlined. They come in with their plan, very straightforward to do it. And it's really a nice plan, and there's a lot of sustainability principles in terms of walkability and resilience built into the plan. How do you get people, for example, from the Simsbury Inn over to Riverview without getting killed on Route 10? How you walk, up and down Hop Meadow Street? How to slow traffic down so that young moms and their kids can walk along that area without getting run over. We got some really interesting pictures of people, even while we're doing the study, walking up that street and really coming close to getting run over.
So because we're looking at Route 10, was the state involved in some of the design of Route 10, or is that something that we have to then go to the state?
They were involved in the Route 10 study itself, so we got a lot of feedback from them, and we'll just have to keep in contact with them as we go forward. One of the interesting schemes, actually, was a picture of a roadway in Paris. I don't know if any of you saw that. It was really kind of cool. But there was a two-lane highway separated by a vegetative buffer in the middle. Then there were trees on each side of the roadway, and then there was a bike route, a two-lane bike route on either side of that, and it was really urban. And no question, it was Paris. There's no question about that. But they do actually have a plan in the study showing what this would look like in that section. So that's something we need to talk about and find out whether that's something people are really interested in or not. I think that's probably a little bit overboard for this study, but I think the idea was interesting, and it just shows how able the consultants have been with new ideas, and I think that's really kind of an interesting thing. So,
well, the main thing is to slow down traffic in that section so that they go from, they drop by 35, down to 35 or something as they go through.
And very similar to what we talked about in the town center, one of the things that's really important to do that, to calm traffic, is to bring the buildings up to the street. And so, the inn is a beautiful building and serves a great function, but it's way back from the street. So, say when Mitchell's is redeveloped at some point in the future, the buildings that would be there, whether it's what's called a gas backwards, that is a little gas station, the building would be brought up closer to the right-of-way, the gas behind. Buildings in front of them along the street line would be brought to the street, and that will slow people down as well. Because actually, if you build interesting architecture, people are going to slow down and want to see, oh, what's this, what's that? Oh, there's a little store to stop here, or there's a coffee shop, or there's gas, or whatever there happens to be, dry cleaners. So that'll bring people, speeds down as well a little bit. Yeah, okay. Very interesting. So take a look at that if you haven't seen it yet. The last thing I had was the Hartford study, if you want to hear about that.
Sure.
Hartford study is already involving a tremendous amount of work. We probably will have the contracts done by the end of this week. Been working very hard this week back and forth between the town attorney, the Hartford's attorneys, Gateway's attorneys, and trying to coordinate that. It's kind of like a three-legged stool, but we're getting there. I think it's pretty close. So we'll have that contract done by the end of this week. The charrette itself is scheduled to start on September 7th. The Hartford is looking into specifically where we'll be located on their particular campus. They're talking about a large meeting area that will probably separate up into a meeting area where the public can come in and talk about things, and another portion of that same area where the designers will actually be doing designs and talking to people at the same time. So September 7th, 8th, 9th, and then 10th will probably be the public presentation of what they come up with for that initial design phase, is when they'll present that to the public. That'll, I hope, will all be at the Hartford at 200 Hop Meadow Street. And then the 11th and 12th of that week, they're staying in town to continue to work with staff to try to really sort of grind through some of the details for the final design. And that work will take place in the library. I believe people can stop in and sit there if they really, but it will basically be a discussion between the designers and staff trying to work through some of the details of that.
Would the town be willing to do, can somebody do tours ahead of time for people that may not have seen the facility? Would that be something that?
I'm certainly willing to ask them that. I certainly wouldn't want to promise that without talking to them, talking to Tom.
It would be interesting because I know a lot of people haven't been in or may not.
Part of the thing that's going to happen on Saturday the first day of the charrette is a keypad preference polling thing. It's kind of interesting. We can handle about 100 people at a time. And what they'll do is they'll show various scenarios and say, you prefer this one, you prefer that one, so on. And so you get answers instantaneously. So you'll know, 75% of the people sitting in the room at that point prefer this particular image. And that helps the designers to go a long way towards saying, okay, this is what people said they'd like to see. There'll be 2 of those sessions. I think it's the same weekend as Septemberfest.
I was going to say that's
And so there's going to be a
Septemberfest.
lot of people in town, hopefully downtown, and hopefully they can spare an hour or 2 to come down to the Hartford. We'll try to make it as easy as possible for people to get in and make sure that the meeting space is, notice where people can go. I hope that on Saturday and Sunday, that facility won't be terribly busy with other people that are there, so that there'll be plenty of place to park and plenty of markings as to how to get to the rooms where the meeting will be. But we'll try to get that done. It should be a really interesting session. At the same time, I've been in touch with trying to set up 4 stakeholder meetings. I've sent out probably 100 invitations already and getting a very good response back. And those stakeholder meetings will be taking place at the same time during the charrette process as well. So the consultant will be meeting face-to-face with people that have businesses in the area, their property owners in the area, or their developers that might be interested in this project. And that's an interesting list as well as other town groups that typically come up when there's a big development proposal. So those groups, I've gotten a lot of response from residents that said, I'll be willing to help you set up that group. I'm working with the realtors, commercial realtors, in terms of trying to get them to come to these meetings as well. And try to sort of think outside the box in terms of the types of developers that might be interested in this. Might not necessarily be a local developer that's interested in this. Might be somebody from outside the region. So we're trying to spread out our wings a little bit and make sure that those people get invited to this process as well. We think very strongly that the consultant that we've hired has very good connections in the business and development community and really understands how these things work nationwide, so we can get a really good response for that as well. And working with and hand in glove with the realtor that the Hartford has hired as well, not to step on their toes, but to work with them to help that process forward. You may have already noticed that the for sale sign went up in front of the property. I let everybody know the day that they were nice enough to call and say it's going up, so don't be surprised. So it is, in case you want to stop down this afternoon and buy it. It's available, apparently. The other thing that I did was kind of interesting is I've contacted all the schools with regard to having whether students are interested in this process or not. I've gotten a very good response from the high school, gotten good responses from Ethel Walker, from Westminster, and we have actually 3 graduate school interns from Central Connecticut that are going to be working with us as well, that have volunteered to participate in this process and do a lot of the sort of the nuts and bolt grunt leg work, running around, making maps, making copies, doing all kinds of things that need to be done. So it's not any credit, and as far as I know, I don't have any money, although I'd love to be able to promise them a couple bucks to help us out. But they are, at this point, volunteering to do it just because they want to find out what's going on in the real world out there. As far as I know, and I'm not aware of any other process like this that's taken place in Connecticut with this public-private partnership. Usually, buildings just leave, and, you look through Peter, Paul, and Joy down at Naugatuck, the building disappears. Another insurance company in Middletown, building disappears. This is a real effort on the part of the community to try to work with the business to make sure that hopefully we get something really good out of this process for the town. We'd hate for this building, after all this process, to just disappear as well. It's a possibility, but we certainly hope it doesn't go that way. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Comments, questions? All right, thank you
Please
very
come participate as much as you can, please. Thanks.
Old business, new business. Derek Peterson has resigned from the EDC effective last week. Kevin Cribbins has indicated that he will be resigning if he hasn't already. So we've lost 2, and I understand that Gary Dornbush is coming back, joining us in the very near future. So once again, some musical chairs up here. Any other old business? Any new business? Nobody?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
2 things. Jules' obituary is out today.
It's a great obituary.
Yeah, I'm sorry, her obituary just is out today. I'm blanking on the second one. Simsbury Main Street hosts we can talk about the Facebook page. We host the Simsbury, Connecticut Facebook page. We recently hit over the 2,000 mark, so if you haven't joined, please do. It's a great resource, and I should give a plug. The Simsbury Moms Unite page, which we're a part of but don't host that one, is also really, really fantastic. It's a great resource. It's very active. But on our Facebook page, we get a lot of people that have moved back in the area. They share stories. They talk about, all different things. They post photos, so I encourage you to join them.
Once again, what's the date of the Taste of Simsbury?
Last Thursday, August 29th. Tickets available at Simsbury Bank.
After the Hartford Charrette, make sure you go get Fries and O'Brien at the Meadows. They're going to be jamming.
It's a good plug. September.
Without anything else? Okay, do we have a motion for adjournment? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
These chairs are so uncomfortable.
Oh, man.